We did for this debate is we invited the official yes and no campaigns to send a representative, and probably two really good speakers here today that will present on each one. I'd like to welcome Diana Byford from the yes side and John Heaney from the no side. That's in the round of applause. There's going to be two choices for you to mark, either the existing electoral system, first past the post, or the single transferable vote electoral system, STV, proposed by the Citizens Assembly on Electoral Reform. So as I say, Diana's going to talk about the STV option, and John's going to talk about the first past the post option.
John, actually, Tony's bracket.
That's good.
I share your concern about the the sustainability of the progressive vote, but I think we already got a problem in that regard. I see the Greens, who don't have a snowball's chance in hell of electing a member, in my opinion, on the verge of re-electing Gordon Campbell under this first past the post system. So I'm not so sure what advantage you're talking about.
James Stewart started the campaign with as good a chance of being the next member in his funnel as Maureen Carrick-Jansen. That's my fundamental belief. I do not say, I will stay here till 6, if necessary, to talk to any person that says we have no Greens in the legislature and the sole reason is first past the post. I fundamentally disagree. I think James Stewart started the election with as good a chance as Maureen to be the next member. Council member, well-known, leader of the party, resources should be put there. I saw her at the Bay Street Bridge as I was driving here. The Green vote will, it reinforces my exact opinion. The left-wing pie is a finite pie, and you can cut it any way you want between Greens and NDP. STV won't grow the pie. But in first past the post, the left can still win, because there's too many Liberal votes in North Van, and West Van, and Okanagan, and Fraser Valley, so that they can win 52% of the vote. But in first past the post, the NDP can win a riding with 40%, as Eric knows, in a three-way split. The left can govern with 40%, 43%, 45% of the vote. Call it an accident of history, but it created Tommy Douglas.
Okay, thanks, John. Okay, Diana, respond.
Well, my response to that is that the Greens have as much right to be in the legislature as any other party, and under STV, we are guaranteeing them seats. There's not a good chance that just one of them might get a seat because that person's a popular person. We're looking for more equality amongst the people who vote for a particular party, that party is more than just one person who might be popular, and there are a large percentage of people who consistently vote for this smaller party and has never seen someone sit in the legislature yet. We don't always get the right-wing government with a majority of the voters, because in fact the majority of voters frequently vote for other parties, but they get a majority of seats and therefore form what they call a majority government. It isn't actually a true majority of those who cast ballots.
There's an argument that the frequency of minority-type governments, where you have to put together a coalition to govern, will increase under the STV. And I think back, it was mentioned earlier during the debate, think of Pierre Trudeau forming his coalition with Ed Broadbent and how progressive that coalition was. What's your view on this idea that, well, minority governments are less desirable, coalition-type governments are less desirable than the stability we get with majority-type governments in the system of creating?
Yes, minority and coalition governments are more likely to be formed under any kind of proportional system and under STV. And as I just stated, so-called majority governments really are not a majority of the voice of the people. They are just a majority because they got more of the ridings, as first past the post allows them to do so. Minority and coalition governments are stable governments simply because under a current system, a minority government is unstable because the next biggest opposing party is just looking for an edge to rise in the polls, to bring the government down in the hope that they will win the next majority. minority and coalition governments under PR, under STV, will likely see a similar makeup if they go back to the polls. There is no advantage to bringing that government down. There's more advantage to sitting down and working out agreements with the legislation that is being brought forward, kicking them around a little bit more so that they work better for all people, rather than having one party dictate how some legislation will go through. So the minority and the coalition governments work differently under first past the post and under STV. And under STV, they provide us with a better, more consensual type of government.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be disrespectful to the point. I have no opposition to minority or coalition government. I would gladly live in British Columbia. I'd gladly raise my 4 children in British Columbia, governed by a coalition of the NDP and the Green Party. I don't care who's on top. I don't care who the senior member of the coalition is, Green or NDP. All I'm saying is they're going to be in opposition for as long as we have STV. Because STV only delivers government to the people who can make 50% plus, and no one has done that in BC's history except business. We will have potentially 4 parties in the next legislature if we have STV. Let's say the Greens, the NDP, the Liberals will have a split, I think quite clearly, between rural and urban. You'll have a business-dominated, urban, liberal, conservative party, and you'll have a rural-dominated, sort of more right-wing, populist party. But make no mistake about it, everything in my bones tells me between the urban, business-dominated party and the rural, conservative, populist party, they'll have 52% of the vote, and they'll have 52% of the seats, and the NDP and the Greens can have whatever proportion of numbers they have between them, NDP more, Green more, I don't care.
How closely are you affiliated with the rest of the No side? Are you a part of their official campaign?
No.
You're not.
I'm a member, and I was authorized by them to come speak here.
Okay, because I'm very concerned about the message that they're putting out to the public. For example, on their website, it says, and because of the complicated transfer system, you will never know where your vote actually went in electing MLAs for their constituency. And I'm very concerned about that, plus many other messages they're putting out, because this is patently false. So, and for people that don't understand that it's false, for myself, I've learned the system. I've done mock elections. It's completely transparent. If you go to websites that show the elections in other countries, it's completely transparent. And if you go to the Referendum Information Office, which is set up by the government in this same referendum, it says, when election results are reported, you will be able to track your vote. So my question is this a sign of not knowing what BCSTV actually is, or is it deliberate lying? And given those 2 options, why should we trust anything that comes from the No side?
Fair enough. I'm going to say, I'm not responsible for anything they write, but I'm going to pose to you a question that I don't understand the answer to, though I've looked at all the material. Okay, and this will give you a hypothetical. So Diane and I both want Jane, number 1. We put Jane at the top of our list. However, Diane's number 2 is Joe, and my number 2 is Jack. Okay? Jane's quota is 10,000 votes. Okay? We both vote number 1 for Jane. Okay? Jane gets 12,000 number 1 votes. Okay? I understand then under the system, if you agree with me, that there are 2,000 surplus Jane votes. Right? Am I in the 10,000 that got her elected? And therefore, my number 2 vote isn't going to Jack? Or am I in the 2,000 that are surplus, and therefore my second choice is going somewhere?
This shows your...
That's my question. I would like to hear an answer.
Okay, and would you respond to that?
Please.
Yes, I will. You're in the 12,000, and all of them are going to be considered for their second choices at a proportion of the vote. 10,000 votes have to stay with Jane, and so with 12,000 votes, we're looking, off the top of my head, can somebody do the percentage very quickly for me?
5-6.
Sorry, 5-6, okay, thank you. 5/6 of your vote will stay with Jane to make sure she is elected, and 1/6 of every person who voted for Jane will be transferred over to their second choices. So it would take 6 of those pieces to create a whole vote to go over to your second choice. So whatever my second choice was, 5 other people have to agree with me before my second choice gets a whole vote. Same with your second choice. everybody's second choice is taken into consideration.